Good morning, everyone. Everyone is currently muted. We're going to give us a couple of minutes to let everyone get registered so we can start this great webinar. The presentation will begin shortly. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for attending the Building Momentum Marketing and Social Media Workshop or webinar for today. We've got some great content. We're really excited for all of you to be here. There's still people registering, so this is going to be great. We are hosting this in partnership with BMO Harris Bank, which is a very, very valuable partner to the Chicagoland Chamber of Commerce and our small business team. So we're going to get started. I'm going to introduce myself. Some of you may know me already. My name is Stacey Fitz-Caldwell. I am the Director of Small Business for the Chicagoland Chamber of Commerce, as well as the Central Director for the Chamber's Illinois Small Business Development Center. Obviously, we offer advising services. So once you go through this great content that BMO Harris has prepared for us, you can certainly reach out to our team and get some one-on-one advising services at no cost to your business. A couple of housekeeping things I want to go over. So, this webinar is being recorded. Everyone is on mute. Please don't unmute yourselves. We're going to go through a really great presentation. It's going to be interactive, and we will have time for questions towards the end, a little bit towards the end. And just throw your questions in the chat, and then I will be looking out for those and then posing them aloud to our presenters. So without further ado, I would like to pass it over to Vlaka from our BMO Harris team. Vlaka?
Great. Thank you so much, Stacy. Good morning and welcome to our Building Momentum webinar. I'm Vlatka Poljic and I'm a director of our U.S. Women in Business team. At BMO Harris, we're passionate about supporting our small business owners and understand the special place and essential part they play in the U.S. economy. In these uncertain times, it is crucial that we support our small business owners with relevant information, practical tools, as well as formation of meaningful networks that can make our businesses more resilient and scalable. We're very excited to be partnering with the Chicagoland Chamber of Commerce to be able to offer educational content on a virtual basis. Today, our webinar will focus on marketing and social media best practices. You will learn about effective and low-cost tools, tips, and tricks that can be used to help better position and grow your business through social media channels. You will also be provided access to one of our tools, Creative Marketing Workbook. And as Stacy mentioned, you will have an opportunity to ask questions and have them answered by a social media expert. Now, without further ado, because we have a lot of content that we're supposed to cover and we would love to cover, I would like to introduce you to our presenter, Kira Wegler. Kira joined BMO as a social media manager to support personal and business banking clients for Canada and the United States. She has extensive social media marketing experience and has worked with brands to develop and launch their social media programs from the ground up. Kira is a true popular culture enthusiast and spends her time researching the latest social media trends. She's passionate about serving the needs of business banking community and educating business owners in North America through her favorite marketing channel, social. Please join me in welcoming Kira, and thank you so much for being with us today. Kira, it's yours.
Thanks, Vlatka, and good morning, everyone. I'm really excited to chat with you all today about how to apply social media to your business. I've worked for many different industries, banking, home services, not what you would kind of consider the traditional sexy types of brands. And it can often be considered a challenge. People look at social media as kind of a beast and don't really know where to begin. So I'm here to kind of explain to you easy to use opportunities, tips and tricks, as Vlatka mentioned, for you to apply social media to your business. In my experience, social media is typically considered just an extension to what's already being executed on other marketing channels. So if you're doing something for email or your website, why not just put it on social media? So what I'm here to explain to you today is how social media should really be considered in the early stages of your marketing planning to ensure that everything that you're sharing on social media is optimized for the channel and will generate the highest results. The value of social media is that you do not need to be an expert in social media whatsoever. The tools are extremely democratized and available to use for anyone, and are also very easy for anyone to apply to their businesses. You do not need to have extensive marketing budgets or extensive experience using social media in order to leverage the medium for your business purposes. So I'm really excited to share with you some of those opportunities here today. So some universal pain points that we've experienced, especially in the current climate, is pivoting your business model to online only. It's no longer a choice to be on social media. It's a must do and a must have in order for your business to be successful with limited resources, of course. So the goal of online only business is really reaching your audiences virtually and engaging your audiences. And the way you engage your audiences is by creating an ongoing cadence of engaging content. This can be very challenging considering some of the some of the aspects of the current cultural landscape. So it's really important to ensure that your tone and your messages are considering what is happening externally, as whatever we post on social media tends to amplify what's already being magnified in the cultural landscape. So moving along. So we may already be familiar with the marketing funnel, but I'll just review this very quickly. So with typical marketing channels, we hope to push consumers down this traditional funnel, whereas we would like to generate awareness for our business, and really at the end purpose is to drive a conversion, whether that's via a lead or a sale with your brand, and ultimately create advocacy and loyalty with your business. The difference between some of these traditional marketing tactics with email or mass media such as radio or our website is that social media is not just a one-way marketing funnel. Social media is really a journey and a consumer loop where it's your work is not done when you convert a user to a lead or a sale. Social media is a way to constantly engage your business in a consistent loop of conversation and engagement. So moving on to the next slide, there's a visual of really how social media impacts the consumer journey. So really you're driving awareness, which hopefully drives consideration. So that's whether a consumer will decide to do business with your brand, and then they act. And once they act, that is not kind of the end of your work. With social media, a lot of the work that we do is in the post-purchase experience, where you're nurturing, maintaining, building relationships with either existing customers or new customers. And how we do this is through providing value through content that we're posting on our social media channels. Although it's easy to use social media simply to drive leads or sales, it's really important to drive and provide value through your social media content, so that when a consumer is deciding whether to make a purchase decision, that your brand is top of mind, and you are considered not a brand that just is pushing sales and offer content, but is actually providing value through your expertise within your industry. So on to the next slide. So there's many different value adds to social media. Like I mentioned, building and nurturing relationships through engaging on social media is really kind of the key value of social media. It's also an important tool to generate exposure, so that between different purchasing points with your business, you're continuing to have those relationships with your consumers in this space, so that you're consistently top of mind with all users. It's also a great space to provide thought leadership in your specific industry. So as a small business owner, you really are the expert in your business and your industry. So provide value through giving your perspective on a relevant or topical conversation, jumping in on conversations that are happening and providing your perspective. Social media is a really great place to build trust and credibility by providing users with these value-added content. And again, with the exposure, it's very important to continuously be active on social media. Your work isn't done by just putting out a post every month. It's really a long-term ongoing strategy in order to stay top of mind with your consumers, and that's through building social engagement and strengthening those relationships. So before we get into how you can apply social media strategies to your business, I just wanted to touch on quickly what has been specific trends in the social media space in 2020. So the first one is video. Video is not new to 2020, but it really speaks to the impact of engaging content. You might not have a graphic designer or the means to consistently be creating video, but look at what you already have that you've used on some of your other marketing channels and see if there's an opportunity to repurpose some of those assets for social media. There's lots of great free resources that we'll get into later on in the presentation to help create these assets that are required in order for you to be an engaging presence on social media. So video is very important simply because it's an engaging medium compared to things like static images or assets. Within video, TikTok is obviously a huge trend of 2020. And really the value of TikTok is that it is short video clips that users are consuming. So really the trend of TikTok speaks to the trend of the importance of video on social media. Digital creators has also really expanded in 2020. And this also, you may be familiar with influencers. So this is really users on social media who have a large social media presence that can provide credibility and really a third-party validation for your brand. So a good opportunity for leveraging social media for your business is partnering with digital creators who have an audience that's similar to the target demographic of your business, and then creating a partnership and having them share content related to your brand. The value of partnering with a digital creator is that you are you're not just speaking to how amazing your brand is, you're having this third-party figure validating your credibility and speaking to how great your brand is. So it's a really great way to have that kind of word of mouth and third-party validation. The last two trends for 2020 really speak to the cultural landscape of this year. That's really around activism, transparency, and trust. And as I mentioned earlier on in the presentation, social media really amplifies what's already being magnified in the cultural landscape. So a lot of these trends have led into social media and really has put pressure on brands to be transparent and trustworthy. Social is a really great space to be human. Speak to your consumers as you, it's not a space to be very formal and rigid in your conversations. It's a place to humanize your brand and have conversations with your users and provide that level of transparency and trust that you haven't been able to do so previously, or other channels do not provide you with that opportunity. So moving along to the next portion of the presentation, I'd really like to explain how you can apply social media to your businesses. What are the channels you should be on, and what are some best practices that you can apply to your social media strategy? So in a nutshell, this is when I help businesses really get social media started and really build it from the ground up. These are the 10 or the 9 points that I provide to businesses to define to help inform what their social media strategy is going to be. So really the most important is social should be an extension to some of your existing business goals and objectives. Are you trying to generate awareness for a specific product? Are you a new business and you need to get the word out that you are that you're open for business? Are you trying to promote a specific product? Are you trying to drive foot traffic to your store or calls to your business? This is defining what your goals are in the early stages will help inform all of the latter strategic points that need to be defined as part of your social media strategy. As I mentioned, social is a great place to speak very informally to your audience and have those conversations. The value of social media is that it's a bi-directional conversation. So you're not just putting out these marketing messages. There's opportunities for users to comment, to send you messages, and it's a space to have those conversations and really be a human presence on social media as opposed to just a big brand. So what is your brand voice? How do you speak to your users on some of your other marketing channels, and how can you apply that to your social media brand voice? The next point is around defining who your target audience is. And this point is highlighted because this is the most critical step to determine where you should be and what types of posts you should be creating. So defining who your target audience is will help determine which channels you should be on, what types of posts are you going to share, what is your audience interested in, and how often should you be sharing those posts. Once you've really defined these critical points of your social media strategy, You can then apply the insights and data that you gain from that you've generated on your social media posts to help define what you should be doing more or less of. So say your objective is to generate awareness of your brand. Defining KPIs, key performance indicators, that align with that goal or objective will help inform whether your content is performing or not. So let's say your goal is to generate awareness of your brand, then perhaps a KPI of impressions, which means how many people are seeing your post, is the KPI that you should be focusing on. Whereas if you're focusing on getting clicks to your website, clicks might be the KPI that you should be focusing on. So again, measuring success will help determine whether your social media strategy is actually effective. And once you've really created this holistic content strategy, you can then consider doing some easy paid amplification to really boost your content and get more eyeballs and more of your target audience directed to your content. And we'll speak more on that later on in the presentation. So moving along, that was really the holistic kind of 9-point step to creating a holistic social media strategy. But where should you start? Where should you begin? And this is the most frequently asked question that we get from business owners is, this is all really great information, but I don't even know where to begin. So I'm here to explain to you exactly where you can start within that and to help build out that more comprehensive social media strategy. Moving on. So again, I mentioned that defining your target audiences is the most critical point of your social media strategy because it'll help determine where you should be. A common misconception is that you need to be everywhere at once and you need to be on all the social media platforms. And I'm here to tell you that that's not actually the most effective social media strategy. Select 1 to 2 channels that make sense for your business and make sense for where your users are. So if your target demographic is geared a little younger, perhaps you should consider being on Instagram or Snapchat. If you are a very visual driven brand and your products are, let's say you're in retail or beauty or anything that's very visually heavy, consider a visual platform like Instagram. If your target audience gears a little higher in age, perhaps Facebook is the place you should be. So really think about 1 to 2 channels, focus all of your efforts into there. And then once you have kind of a consistent and ongoing social media presence, then you can consider expanding to other channels. If you are unsure exactly where you should be on, just a simple Google search with some of your target demographic information and will help you define where you should be. And then once you've selected those 1 to 2 channels, creating content can be very overwhelming. So what I would do is I would pick 4 to 5 content themes that every piece of posts that you're sharing ladders up to one of those themes. So for example, with BMO, a couple of our content themes are community. So any work related to any sponsorships or charitable organizations we have partnerships with, any volunteering that our employees do, really anything community related is a huge content pillar. So any post community related, we know ladders up into that pillar. Another one is banking tips and providing the best banking advice. So that would be tips and tricks related to how to actually kind of banking 101. And again, none of those posts really have a sales or offer message, but we are providing value to users through content that makes sense to our business, but isn't necessarily pushing a specific offer. So once you've developed kind of those 4 or 5 content themes that every post of yours will kind of ladder up until, it should create a really holistic content strategy. So you may be kind of familiar with that buzzword content strategy, and that's really just developing and having a strategy to your content and understanding what posts make sense for your business. So once you've determine what those themes will be. Planning and optimizing your assets in advance is extremely critical in order to have that consistent that consistent use of social media. So a question I get all the time is, how do I remember to always just post on social media? And my suggestion would be to leverage a resource that helps you plan and schedule your social media posts in advance so that you can dedicate an hour or two a week to creating your content, creating your posts, scheduling them in advance. You don't need to worry about it for that week. There's might be opportunities that come up in real time. Say you're at an event or something happened, or you got a really good customer testimonial that you want to share on social media. You still have the opportunity to share content in real time. Creating posts in advance that aren't anchored down to a specific time can really help you create that ongoing rhythm of investing some of your time in social media. And you don't need to invest a lot of time. Like I said, an hour or so a week should be sufficient enough to help you get your social media posts scheduled in advance, so that way you don't need to think about it for the week or a month ahead. And a really low-hanging fruit opportunity is to engage with your community and leverage user-generated content. So as I mentioned, social media is a space to have some of those bi-directional conversations where your community speaks back to you and provides their own comments. So engaging with your community means just simply responding to any comment that's shared to your page, whether that's positive or negative, and really showing your community that you care. Responding to a post does more than just notify that user that you've responded. It shows other users that come to your page that you're engaged and you care about your consumers, and you also aren't afraid to have those public kind of back and forths that can be positive with your consumers. And I mentioned user-generated content, and that means sharing content that your community is creating about your business. So I'll use that retail example again. So say you own a shoe store and someone posts a picture on their social media page and tags you of a picture with your shoes in their post. Send them a message next, ask them if you can share that to your social page. And that's a really great way to leverage free content that provides that level of credibility, as it's someone else that's sharing content related to your brand that you're just amplifying on your social media page. So really, again, back to kind of where you should be. What are some of those channels that make sense for your brand? These are really the big four social media channels: LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And like I mentioned, they each have different benefits depending on who your target audience is. So understanding who your audience is will then help determine which one of these channels you should be on. We can move along. Like I said, once you're on, kind of content can be very overwhelming. Where should you begin? So here are some best practices on how you can produce social media content. It's really important to create, and I keep saying this, engaging social media content, because a user will decide within 2 seconds whether they want to continue looking at your post or moving on. Social media has billions of posts shared every day. So I think about, if you're a user scrolling, what will grab their attention? What will make them to want to continue consuming your post and not keep on scrolling? So it's really important to consider social media in the early stages. If you are creating marketing assets to be shared on email or through some other marketing channels, think about social media in the early stages and create assets that are optimized for social media. A simple Google search will help you understand what size images you should be creating for social media, and just some best practices on how much text you should have on the image and what that asset should look like. And considering social media in the early stages will then help make your post that much more engaging. If you have a brochure, I wouldn't recommend just sharing the brochure as is to your social media pages. Perhaps pick out a couple different points and create social media assets that have, let's say, one tip from that brochure, and then you can create a social media series of posts as opposed to just sharing one brochure. Break it up into many different posts, leverage that content, and create a longer term strategy for sharing that brochure content. And that way your content is engaging and you're still delivering the same messages that you would have if you just shared the brochure as is. As I mentioned, attention is the commodity we're seeking on social media. So creating that high quality, thumb stopping content that is optimized for social media. It's critical to have to engage in your community and creating that content that people want to share. When I create content for social media, I think about, is this content engaging, entertaining, or educational or inspirational? If it's neither of one of those pillars, perhaps it's not the best space to share on social media. As I mentioned, social is a space to provide value through content as opposed to just pushing offer or sales messages. There is a space for that on social media, but on your business's social media feed, that might not be the best place to just consistently push out offers and sales. So create that value added content and determine whether it is entertaining, educational, or inspirational. And that will help determine whether it's something you should be sharing to social media. Social should be just an extension to what your brand look and feel is on your other channels. So make sure it's visually consistent with some of your other owned channels to ensure that people who are familiar with your brand understands that this is your authentic social media page and this is an extension to some of your other owned properties. Like I mentioned, it's really important to share on social media and not always be salesy. People aren't interested in just constantly being sold to or pushed offers to. So it's important to provide that value through content so that you're not overwhelming users with just sales and offer messages, which isn't the purpose of social media really. And how can you let your users know that you're on social media? I get a question all the time is, how can I build my audience? How do I gain followers? And there is no simple solution for that. It's really about building your audience over time by creating and sharing engaging content. So that audience will come so long as your content is effective and optimized for social media. So be patient. It's not a quick fix to suddenly generate 100,000 followers on your social media page. And frankly, followers don't actually mean that you are impactful on social media. Followers can sometimes be a vanity metric. It looks good, but the way that social media platforms prioritize content in the newsfeed of users is by what's engaging and what will this user want to see. It's not necessarily all of the content from everyone you follow. The algorithm pushes out content that the user wants to see. So even though you might have 100,000 followers, that doesn't mean 100,000 people are necessarily seeing your content. So don't focus so much on the number of followers you have. Focus more on each piece of content and whether that's generating a high amount of engagement. So that's likes, comments, or shares. And just some pro tips and easy free resources that you can use to help optimize your content for social media. Canva.com, and I would write this one down. It's an easy to use kind of Photoshop for dummies, I call it. I'm not that I don't know how to use Photoshop. I'm not an expert on that. I use Canva all the time. It's an easy to use platform that provides you with templates that can be customized to your brand. And it's an easy place to create free assets. And I promise you, anyone can use it. You do not need to be a Photoshop expert. As I mentioned, scheduling and publishing your content in advance is a really great, effective way to be efficient with your time and make sure that you do have that consistent churning out of content. So leveraging a free resource like HubSpot will allow you to pre-schedule and publish your posts in advance so that you do not have to think about it on the spot. You've dedicated that hour or so a week to schedule your content ahead of time. And lastly, Facebook Creative Hub is a resource within Facebook. Facebook owns Instagram. So when I say Facebook, I mean Facebook and Instagram. Facebook Creative Hub, you can input your assets into there and it will tell you what optimizations you should make to your creative in order to make it most impactful for social media. So if you have an image and you're unsure whether this will work to social media, you can put it into Facebook Creative Hub and they will tell you what some of those optimization opportunities are. And I wanted to share with you a couple of examples of impactful content. I know I'm speaking to all of these different opportunities, but what do actually some of those examples look like? So shameless plug on the left, this is a BMO Harris Bank post. And provides no sales or offer message, nothing related to a BMO product or service that we offer. It's simply kind of a throwback to a softball team that we had in the 1940s and a related image. And again, this relates to our brand, but we're not pushing a specific offer message. Lean on your history and your expertise and share that content on social media. So not only does this relate to our brand in some way, but it also speaks to our expertise that we've been around for so long without actually outwardly saying we have many years of experience in banking. So lean on your history, lean on your expertise, and share these kind of fun opportunities that really speak to your brand and really confirm everything that you're seeing on some of your other channels. The last example I wanted to share was this local consignment shop in my community. On Instagram, they post just pieces that have come into their inventory, and Instagram has a feature to add what we call product stickers. So each of these products that you see, you can actually shop this consignment shop on Instagram, and it provides prices and product information, and you can actually, it drives right back to the website where you can purchase the product. So again, this shows the two different types of content that you can create on social media. There's that fun, not kind of pushy sales offer message content, but then there's the opportunity to leverage some of those product related social media opportunities like the product sticker on Instagram to drive actual value to your business. And again, what are some of those opportunities to help you grow on social media? If you have any partnerships, or create some of those strategic partnerships with some of your partners, share their messages and they will share yours. Perhaps partner to create a contest of some sort where you're promoting the contest on your social page, that the call to action is follow your partner's page and their call to action is to follow your page. So by creating kind of an incentivized contest, by incentivizing users of each other's page to follow each other is a great way to tap into your partners' communities to help build that audience on your own page. And again, engaging with your community is extremely important. You don't want to just have that one-way conversation. You want to engage with your community, respond to those comments, and show that you're an active and caring presence on social media. And a really great way to help determine what type of content you should be creating is listen to conversations that are happening about your business or about your industry in general. So if you see on, let's say, Twitter, there's lots of conversations happening around how to maintain leather shoes in the wintertime, perhaps create a piece on the top 10 tips on how to preserve your leather in snow. That's just an example, but listen to conversations to help inform what your content should be. It's also extremely important that you're searchable on social media. If you're not searchable, then no one will be able to find you. So I mentioned using product stickers in that previous Instagram post to help inform about some of your products and service offerings, but also leverage hashtags and geotags. There is more of a purpose to hashtags and geotags than simply just the vanity of having a hashtag. I know some of us kind of wonder, what is the value of these? And that's if you are looking for, let's say, a specific topic, that your post will then appear in that topic search. So say I'm looking for leather shoes. If you offer leather shoes and you've hashtagged that, then as a user, when I'm looking for that, I will find your brand from searching that hashtag. So use hashtags that make sense for your business, and perhaps create a hashtag that your business can own, and encourage your consumers to use that hashtag when they are sharing posts about your product or service. And that way you're really kind of owning a hashtag. You can monitor conversations that are happening about your business, and then that creates some of those user-generated content opportunities. Geotags, similarly to hashtags, is simply a means to tag where your business is located. And that way, anyone who's within your community can help find you through that geotag. And really, again, you do not need to be an expert to leverage some of the elements that the social media platforms offer to create engaging content. If you go on Instagram and you create an Instagram story, which is simply a piece of content that a user can click on that's viewable for 24 hours, there's free opportunities to use to host a poll or a quiz or a this or that. So leverage some of those free interactive elements to generate that conversation and engage your community. And lastly, analyzing your performance is the best way to understand how your content is resonating. If you do not analyze your performance, you will not know what you should invest in more or less of your time in. So say you push out 2 pieces of content and one of them has no engagements, there's no likes, no comments, that'll help determine and help you understand, perhaps I should be not posting this type of content theme anymore. It doesn't appear that people are interested in that. Or perhaps something you posted, like that TVT, created a high level of engagement, lots of comments, lots of shares, lots of likes. You should be doing more of that content. So lean on the analytics and insights that are provided to you to help understand what you should be doing more or less of. And lastly, the value of social is that it is public. You could easily go to your competitors' social media pages and see what they are doing to help inform what your audience is interested, and perhaps tap into some of your competitors' social media pages, and just to keep a tab of what others are doing in your space. And this is kind of just a quick extension. Really, the important part of getting started on social media is selecting those channels, is creating good content, and being active. Once you are comfortable using social media organically for your business, there's always an opportunity to amplify your content by putting a little bit of paid money behind it to reach users who might not follow your page but fit within your target demographic. The value of social media advertising is that it is the most cost-efficient marketing channel, and it is the most targeted. So you can reach more people that make sense for your business for less. So I like to compare this to kind of a billboard. So a billboard is a mass media marketing channel where you hope that the right eyeballs see your billboard. Whereas on social media, you're only targeting those who you have defined as one of your target audience. So you are not wasting any funds on marketing to people that are not your target demo or make sense for your business. Every dollar works hard to reach the right audiences. And social media, paid social media, again, it's very easy there's many opportunities for you to easily leverage paid social media for your business. And these social media channels want you to invest in your content, so they make it as easy as possible. Let's say you have a post that performed really well and you want to get it out to more eyeballs. There's a button right next to, let's say on Facebook, for example, that says boost. If you just click that post, it'll create a pop-up window. You can apply, let's say, $50 to that post, select some of your target demographics and click boost, and Facebook will do all the work for you. So that way you don't need to determine in advance or guess what you think you should be putting paid social behind. You can put it out there and test it organically. And if something is doing very well, then you can put money behind it. So you know that this piece of, you can test it organically and then push it out to more eyeballs. If you're ever unsure or you want to learn more about social media advertising or amplifying your content with some paid media, I suggest Googling Facebook Blueprint courses. This is really the Facebook School 101 for leveraging paid social media for beginners. It'll help you understand everything you need to know, how to get started, and there's different modules. So if you're interested in one specific area, for example, you can learn more about that area, and you can continue learning by joining these different modules. So definitely check that out if you are interested in leveraging social media for advertising. And this is the space that paid social media is the space that helps you leverage social media to drive those priority actions like leads or sales. And when I spoke earlier about pushing out content and you do not want to be salesy, that is for your feed posts. So anytime someone goes to your social media page, they shouldn't be seeing all of these offering sales messages. Those are reserved for what we call dark posts. So that's the advertising, the offers and sales messages that aren't visible on your feed, but they are targeted out to to your demographic. And again, if you want to learn more about this, I highly recommend the Facebook Blueprint courses for more information. So I'm going to pass it over to Vladka now, who's going to the Creative Marketing Workbook and how to apply this to your business.
Sounds great. Thank you so much, Kira. I have definitely learned some useful tips and tricks on how to manage my own social media presence. And I especially loved when you talked about value-added content. We have so much content that's being pushed to all of us on a daily basis, and just keeping in mind your words around engaging, entertaining, educational, and inspirational truly helps. I think it's a good check box to do and check mark to do for all the posts. I love the fact that you talked about focusing on 1 or 2 channels, and then really getting good at those and planning 1 or 2 hours a week to plan out, pre-schedule those posts. So great information. Thank you so much. I hope all of you have gained some useful tips and tricks on how to position your business through an online channel. As I mentioned in the beginning, we at BMO Harris are passionate about providing a variety of different educational as well as practical tools to help you manage and grow your business. And our team has developed a series of assets that can be used to leverage during these uncertain times. One tool that's particularly relevant to our session today is our Creative Marketing Workbook. And this workbook, I would call it, it's a very comprehensive document. It has 5 sections, and it truly walks you through your entire marketing plan. So it includes information on targets and trends, where it helps you identify either 3 new markets or perhaps existing markets and how to tackle those markets. It also it walks you through promotions and how to get that target customer promotions really effective and ready, and how to really promote your business to each target that you have. It talks about credibility, and it walks you through the credibility, which is so important. Kira talked about humanizing our brand, and it's all about trustworthiness and building that brand's trust with your customers. And this section definitely talks about that and walks you through how to best achieve that. Partnerships are also important, as Kira mentioned. And just in these uncertain times, if our small businesses support each other, chances of succeeding and remaining resilient are higher. And I've seen a lot of examples where different businesses partner up, and I love that. It makes my heart really happy and full, and I'm prone to support those businesses during these uncertain times. And online, it really focuses on how this Creative Marketing Workbook really walks through the online channel and how to improve your website to increase sales. Our online channel is our primary channel for most of us today. Many of us were used to in-person meetings and in-person presentations, and just boosting that online presence and really getting the message through is extremely important. We hope you find this tool valuable. It can be found in the chat. I believe Stacy posted it in the chat for us to access. But in case you lose the link, it can be accessed through our bmoharris.com/business banking business insights. I will also provide my email address and would be happy to answer any questions you have around this tool or provide more information. But thank you so much, and we hope you find this valuable. At this time, we will turn to your questions. So I'll go to Stacy for questions from the audience.
So that was a lot of information, everyone. So we got some good questions. And Kira, this question is going to be for you from Catherine. You talked about measuring performance for on social media campaigns. And so Catherine wants to know, how do you do that? Is there a particular tool that she can use? Or can you talk a little bit more about how small businesses should be able to do that? Maybe a great cost-effective way, we would say,
Yeah, absolutely. Every single social media platform has provide you with the data and insights you need to use to be able to inform what you should be doing more or less of. That is what we use as social media marketers. We rely on the data and insights from the actual social media platform. So as a business, you would have a page, and with every page, there's an opportunity to click on analytics and insights, and that'll break down every single post that you have and exactly what those metrics are. So you do not need to use kind of a third-party tool or invest at this point in any analytics platform. You can simply just go on the back end of your business social media page on any one of the platforms, and all of those data and insights will be there easily for you.
Thanks, Kiera. I got a couple of more questions just to dig a little bit deeper into Google Analytics. It's a lot of data. We've got a question. It's from Felicia. She said there's a lot of data there. She does have Google Analytics for her website. Is there any suggestions on how to look at that data? If there's a way to find someone who could help break that data down, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, so with the Google Analytics can be extremely overwhelming. I'll be the first to admit it overwhelms me. The value of using these social media platforms and their backend analytics is that it's easy to understand. You have to the social media brands, Facebook, Instagram, they want to make it as easy and as digestible as possible for all businesses of all type, because at the end of the day, their goal is to have more brands leverage their tools and at the end, hopefully provide them with some advertising dollars. So it's very simple and easy to use. You do not need to be an expert to analyze. If you're unsure of what any of the metrics actually are, you can always hover over the metric in the back end and it'll explain to you what that result means. Again, if you're ever unsure about, let's say, what an engagement means or how you calculate an engagement rate, Google. Google helps me every day. I still don't know anything. There's so much information out there. And again, the Facebook Blueprint course, there is a whole module on data and analytics. So go check that out. There's an analytics for beginners. So it'll help you run you through the back end and understand what those insights mean and how you can kind of break them down. So you do not need to hire anyone to, at this point, if you're just getting started, to help help you understand what those metrics mean. Check out those Facebook Blueprint courses, and that should provide you with all of the understanding that you need to know in order to understand those metrics.
Thanks, Kiera. We have another question from Adrian who says, I'd like to start adding some money to promote my Facebook posts. Is there a minimum dollar spend I should be using when promoting a Facebook post?
Yeah, that's a great question. And the reason why I love Facebook is that you do not need a big budget. If you want, I am a strong proponent of it but amplifying all of your posts. You might not have budget for that at this point, and that's okay. Select a couple different posts that are priority for you or have been performing well, and apply, let's say, $50 to $100 of that, and that'll get you like 5 days worth of advertising. And again, it's all targeted to who you want to see the content. So you're not wasting any one of those dollars. They're working very hard in order to reach exactly who you define as your target audience. So a small budget, around $100 for each post. Perhaps you boost one post a week, and that's $100, and you go from there. And then again, very small budget is recommended to start. If you just want to boost a post from your feed that, let's say, is doing really well, or you invested in creating a marketing asset and you want to get that ROI back, just put a little bit of money on it on social media and you'll get those eyeballs for very low cost.
Great. We have another question from Sylvia. Sylvia says, so she's been told that she needs a funnel, and the more she researches it, the more overwhelming it seems. Is there an easy way to implement one in her e-commerce site? Any tools to simplify the integration and building of this funnel?
So If I'm understanding that correctly, that's your funnel on social media. And while you're building out your different social media posts that you're going to be advertising, Facebook, or I'm using Facebook as the example because that's the biggest advertising platform. But when you, let's say you create an ad, it'll walk you through all of those different steps. So it'll provide you with some of those top, mid, and lower funnel opportunities so that it amplifies you and optimizes your post for whatever the objective is that you set it. So let's say you're creating a post and your objective is to drive link clicks. You can optimize your ad for link clicks, and then that's what Facebook will optimize and drive for. Let's say it's a video piece and you want to generate some top funnel metrics like awareness or impressions. You can optimize for impressions or reach, and then Facebook will amplify to get the most eyeballs on your piece of content. So again, all of those funnel metrics and using social media to support the different levels of your marketing funnel can all be found on the Facebook Blueprint course. But there's different opportunities on social media to advertise in the different funnel area. So there is top, mid, and lower funnel optimization opportunities through all of the social media channels. You can do, my favorite example is, let's say I have a video that I've invested in and I put it on social media and I optimize for reach. So I want to get the most people looking at the or watching my video. I can then create a post that retargets all of the people that watched my video with a sale and an offer. So I'm leaning on and I'm leveraging the results that I have created through that video and retargeting those users because they've watched the video. They've showed some consideration and are more likely to convert with your business. So you can actually then retarget those users with an offer. So all of your different funnel activities are working together and you're leaning on the insights you've generated from your previous post to help some of those bottom funnel activities. So it's very strategic. You don't need to just select conversion metrics. You can actually use or create opportunities for each part of the funnel and then use all of the insights you've gained to create the most impactful conversion campaign and drive the most effective clicks to your site or leads or sales or whatever that objective is.
Okay. Jason he's asking who regulates the social media markets. He's interested in learning how businesses build and maintain brands on social media that participate in regulated industries. Is there some place to research this?
Yeah, so obviously as a bank, we are a heavily regulated industry. We work very closely with the actual social media platform. So we have contacts at all of the different platforms to ensure that everything that we're doing is obviously compliant and regulated up to our standards. If as a small business, it's important to kind of consider it on your end, what would be their social media right now is not a regulated space. So it's important to ensure that all of the compliant and regulated activity that you're putting out there is compliant with your business. Facebook or social media, you can't rely necessarily on them to tell you what's reliant or what's compliant to your business. It's important for you to make those integrations early on and ensure that everything you're pushing out is regulated up to your standards. I'm not sure if that answered the question, but again, Google, if you are unsure about kind of Facebook regulations or how you can better understand your specific industry in social media, Google, of course, is a great resource to better understand that.
And then we have another question from Felicia. Is there a way to merge the data in MailChimp with Google Analytics and your Facebook page?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. And the answer is yes. On the back end, you can integrate some of your other data sources, which you can then leverage to target out some of your ads. So an example that's not Google Analytics related, but similar capabilities is that on your website, you can add what is called a Facebook pixel. And it's simply just a string of code that you can apply to your website that feeds data back into Facebook. So that way, let's say you're driving you're driving visitors to your website from your email or other marketing channels, it'll feed back into Facebook. So you can target users who have visited your website that might not have gone through Facebook with social media advertise. So you're bringing in all of your different data sources and then using those insights to retarget with social media posts. So that way all of your marketing channels are working together. So there is an opportunity to integrate your Google Analytics, a pixel on your website to pull in some of those other sources and create some of those richer data targeting opportunities.
Thanks so much, Kira. I think that's all the time we have. That went by really fast. We appreciate you being here. Don't forget to head over to bmoharris.com for the business insights that we're mentioning. Also, more resources to help you in your operations during COVID-19. We really appreciate everyone for attending. Also, if you have any other questions, you can just shoot them over. We'll do our best to try to get some answers out to you. Both Kira and Zlatko have shared their contact information, I believe, in the chat. I saw that earlier. And as always, if you're looking for help with your business, please reach out to our Illinois SBDC at the Chicagoland Chamber to help you maybe develop some of these strategies. So thank you so much. I'm so glad we were able to do this today, and everyone have a fabulous day.
Everyone.